Hey YouTubers, this is John from Self-Sufficient UK. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Time of recording is a Wednesday, and it's part 2 of the 30 things I wish I had if the poop hits the fan tomorrow. Part 2 is all about the skills, so I went through part 1 of what I would like to have in terms of items and gear and things like that. Part 2 is all about the skills that I would like to have or would like to learn to have if something was to happen. First skill, so number 16, so we're going off from part 1. Number 16 is lock picking. I have some lock picks myself. I've only got the basic lock picks. I'd like to improve on this. I'm very much of a beginner on this. I think the quickest I've done it is probably under 60 seconds, but that to me was a fluke. I'm seeing it as a fluke. On average, I'm probably talking about 7 to 10 minutes it's taking me to break the lock with lock picks, and obviously in a disaster situation that's not quick enough. So yeah, so I would like to improve on that and get faster on it as well. So yeah, so I would like to practice more on that. The second thing, so number 17, is weaving. Weaving is an old tradition or an art form that was used to tightly weave fabric or strands, I should say, together to make clothing or items like towels and things like that as well. I would like to get into that a bit more. I've done it once. I do a load of paracord bracelets, but obviously I wouldn't class that as, you could class it as some type of weaving, yes, but not the type of weaving that I want to learn. I want to be able to make pouches out from it and things like that, make my own weaving board. I've done a very primitive one a couple of years ago, but I want to improve on that. So I would like to learn weaving. Making natural cordage. I've never attempted it, I'm not gonna lie, I've never attempted it. I've watched many videos on it. I read a few books on it as well. I would like to try it. This for pure reason, obviously. Yes, I have got paracord, I have got other means of cordage, but having the means of finding cordage from nature could be very vital, in the sense of, obviously there's only so much obviously cordage you can have in a bag, so you would have to make a load on the go. So I would like to learn that at some point, so hopefully in the future. Knife making. Now obviously if there's any Americans out there, obviously your laws are very different, which are very lucky. Next year, fingers crossed it doesn't happen, because it's very silly, this law that they're bringing out in the UK. Next year they're bringing out a law where we would have to go to, rather than buying them online, we would have to go face to face to buy the knives itself, to determine our age and whether we're over 18. I'm not going to go into how I think that's very silly, but I want to learn how to make my own knives or my own blades, so that in the poop hits the fan, I don't like swearing, in the poop hits the fan, I'm able to make my own, and also S.H.T.F as well, so that I don't have to go to shops, and because this for pure example, the most place where I buy my blades is 230 miles away, and it's this silly that I'll just to go all that way just for one blade when I can make one myself. So I'd like to learn how to make them, which will be valuable as well in a disaster. Flint knapping. Flint knapping, again, very obviously it's hundreds and even thousands of years old. I would like to learn. It amazes me how even today people are still doing it, how they are turning stone into tools. and making them durable and robust. And out in the wild, it could be very, very effective or efficient to have that skill in place. Not necessarily you would use it on all the time, for pure reason, obviously. Hopefully you would have a knife on hand, but for any reason, if you lose that knife and you need to make an instrument to do some field craft, i.e. chop down trees to create obviously firewood and things like that, it'll be very, very good and handy to have and to know. So I would like to give a go at that. I know it takes a long while to learn, so better late than never, I suppose. Tracking. This is include animals and man-made tracking. I would like to learn how animals in our environment and in our surroundings move around in nature. So that I can hunt them, obviously. I know how, so I can learn how they behave and where they go. And also with the man part as well, in a disaster, in a big disaster obviously, where world was out law, I can evade or do recon, or if I feel that I can approach, then I will do, but at least I'll know that there is people in the area if I know what they would leave, what terms of tracks they would leave. So I would like to learn that at some point in the future. I have got a few books on it, but obviously I've got to get out there and do the dirt time to improve. Natural navigation. This is number 22. Natural navigation, I would like to get to know. Everybody knows, well, I'd say 95% of the people that do what we do know how to use a compass, but I would like to learn how the people before us, before the compasses came out, which is obviously hundreds of years ago again, learned the way of nature and using it as a means of navigation and knowing where to go and what direction to go. I like to learn this for a pure reason. Again, it could be very useful if you lose, for whatever reason, you lose your compass. You have a means to navigate and to find a safe place home. So I like to learn that. 23, making leather. Now, making leather literally from the starting blocks of taking the hide itself, curing it and tanning it and turning it into something of use, whether it be a item of clothing, shoes, even a strap, belt, or anything like that. I would like to learn literally from the first stages of it being made to the sort of final stages, so that I can make my own stuff, obviously in the disaster and obviously in pre-disaster. Number 24, bow drill. Now, bow drill is a very much primitive art form of friction fire. Everybody knows how to, obviously everybody knows how to use a ferro rod. Everybody knows, well, most people know how to use a flint and steel. Obviously lighters and matches, anybody can, well, I'd say hopefully 99.9% of people out there know how to make fire with matches and lighters. But obviously a bow drill takes a lot of skill and a lot of effort, and it requires a lot of practice to get, the perfect ember that you need to put in that nest. I haven't got to that point yet. I have practiced, I have got an ember, but for me the ember keeps going out, so I need to practice a bit more on that. Once I've conquered that, they do say, some bushcraft experts say that once you've mastered that, fire making becomes a lot more easier in any type of fire lighting. So that's what I would like to master at some point. Suturing obviously is stitching wounds. In a world without law or a complete utter meltdown or chaos, there's going to be no medical professions about. You want to know how to seal that wound and stop infection if something was to happen, where you cut yourself, obviously, or a member of your family has cut themselves and the wound is deep enough, obviously it requires stitches or glue. I have used glue on myself before to close a stitch, close a wound, sorry. So they are useful. And to learn how to obviously stitch any wound up efficiently to stop infection or anything like that would be very, very helpful to have in a disaster. So I would like to practice that at some point. Electrics, I'm going to be the first one to tell you I haven't got a monkey's how to anything about electrics apart from changing a light bulb. I am absolutely useless at electrics. I never was that sort of person. My old man is. Anytime I have a problem with electrics in the house, I'll get him to come round to do it for me, even though he lives 220 miles away. So I need to learn the basics of electrics, even if it's just the alternate energy from the solar, wind, that type of electrics. Then I'll be okay. I'll be happy, because obviously in a disaster, that type of alternate energy would be very useful to have, obviously including how to make obviously pumps working for water and things like that. So I'll need to learn that at some point. Foraging, I have a very basic knowledge of forage foods or edibles. I know a few poisonous ones as well, but I need to improve on this. Again, I can distinguish probably about between 5 and 8 edibles out there at this time. Obviously there's hundreds of them, including obviously there's poisonous ones out there, so I need to improve my knowledge on this subject in my area. So I will be doing that at some point next year as well, taking my books out and doing some research, but I need to learn that. Now trapping, this is number 28. Trapping, in the UK it is illegal to trap game or any wild animal, but it isn't going to stop you from practicing it or setting up and seeing if it works to make yourself more proficient at it, or to gain the knowledge and the skills. It's all it's all good reading a book. Obviously you need to do the dirt time to get out there and to actually do it yourself. And the only way you can do it is actually by only way you can gain the knowledge obviously is actually doing the actual thing itself. You can make the trap obviously, but once you've made it, you've got to set it off and take it away. But then at least you've practiced it and you've understood the mechanisms of the trap itself. Again, I'm a complete novice at this. I need to practice a lot on this subject, so at some point obviously I will give it a go and try it again at some point in the future. 29. Skinning. Skinning an animal. I have skinned a rabbit twice. I know the process of it, I know how to do it, and I've also seen it up close and personal as well. I'd like to become more proficient at that, so that I can save the pelt or save the hide for future uses, again for clothing, for shoes, for anything, or pouches or anything like that, so that I can use the full part of the animal, the whole animal, as a means of survival, whether it be food, making weapons, tools I should say, for bows and arrows and things like that. Obviously the sinew obviously from the animals, so I can learn how to do that as well, so that obviously the animal is not going to be wasted. And last but not least, it's woodwork. I'm not an expert at woodwork, carving or anything like that. The idea of doing this shed or my workspace area is to actually practice wood carving, is to actually do this so that if I can't get out in the field for whatever reason, I've got a means to practice at home, and to do things at home as well, anything at home. I need to get more proficient at it. I would like to build a load of stuff, so I need to gain a bit more knowledge on this subject. Got plenty of books on it, and I've got the greatest help in the world. Obviously my dad is very skilled at woodwork, not so much spoon carving or anything like that, but he's skilled at the other type of woodwork, for making benches and things like that. So I will have the best helper in the world to help me. And bless him, he's 62, 63 now. So the more help I can get from him, the better. It's like a father and son time. So those are my 15 skills of my 30 things that I would like to have or had in a disaster. So 30 in total. If there's any skills that you would like to have in a disaster but you haven't got, please list them below to what you may have or may want. Other than that, have a fantastic week. I hope to see you all soon. This is John out.